Hi, this is Sally Wood for Be Inspired, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make some simple seat cushions. There's no piping, not much for border, but they look really cute and very tailored. A friend of mine is doing this for another friend who has a camper van, I think. So she wants nice cushions, but that she doesn't want all the piping on them. So I'll be showing you a different method of making seat cushions. So let's get on with it. I'm a little bit concerned about this fabric. It seems a bit thin, but I don't think the place is going to be used very much, so it should be fine. The second thing I need to worry about is the lengths of fabric I'm going to be putting in. So I'm going to cut those off first. I've got two to be done at 21 inches by 3.5 by 21. So let's do this. I'm going to measure up. This is why I'm not going to bother cutting the sides off, because I'm going to use the sides for measuring. Okay, so the first one is 21 inches. Actually, I'm going to make that 21.5 inches, and then I've got a seam allowance. The next measurement I'm going to do says 3.5 high, but I'm actually going to only make it, let's have a think. Yeah, I'm going to do them 3.5 high, that's fine. And then the next measurement across is 21.5 from here, because I'm going to fold these over the side, and the 1/2 inch on each end of the 21 is the seam allowance. So there we go. That is one cushion at 21. I want two. So all I'm going to do is fold this fabric all the way over, and then I don't have to measure it all out again because everything is there that I need. So it's my 21, there's one, there's two, there, all the way down to here. And that should be both cushions for the seat done. Just double check. As long as this one's right at the end here, that's all I care about. Okay, so here we go. It had moved about 1/4 inch, if that. I'm going to fold these over and cut them out. I would try cutting them on the threads, but the threads aren't actually very even. I'm going to fold it along this edge here, and then just smooth it out. Just make sure everything is flat. Pop my scissors there and cut along the folded line. That is the easiest way to get a straight line. I've just cut the two seat cushions and the two back cushions, and I know the border on there is 3.5, so I need to cut these at 4.5, and I'm going to cut one length per pair. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. The rest should do the zips. So I'm just going to cut these across as I usually do, running the outside of my ruler along the outside of the fabric, and I'm just going to cut straight across. The easiest way to get the width for the zipping, I half the border like that, and my zipping needs to be 2 3/4 inches wide, and I need 8 cut out at that size. Again, I will do the same as I've just done, marking that off at 2 3/4 and go straight across, and then I'll come back and do all of the others. I'll put them in pairs so I can make the zips. When I'm making a number of items up, I will collate them, and that means I put them all together. So I've got an outside, I have the border here, and the zipper, and each of these piles has exactly the same in it, so when I pick up one pile I know what I'm going to be working with. I'm going to start off with the zips in each pile. On this fabric I've got to be really careful about which side I'm going to use as the right side, and in this case it's the paler side. The darker side has got the fire retardancy put on it, and it feels rougher, and this has a slightly smoother texture. I'm going to fold that over about 1/2 inch. If I put that on the edge there and across, that's 1/2 inch as well. Pop this under here to the end of the selvage. I'm going to use as much as I can on here. I'm going to lengthen the stitch to a 4.5, fold it down, and sew. Looks wonky. I think it's just the way the threads are on this fabric and the way they dried the fabric after making it. All I'm going to do is fold this up, run this edge along the outside edge there, pinch it into place, and sew. That will give me a good 1/2 inch for this zip. I'm going to go all the way to the end of this length of fabric. Now, because I know how much zip I'm going to be using, I'm going to just sew to the end here and cut it back to there. I'm going to do that on 4 lengths. When I come back down the other side, I'm going to pop that under there. I'm actually going to use the identical selvage. So this is the right side. I'm going to fold over my 1/2 inch again and line it up like that with the other side, fold that across and pop that underneath. Now when I do the second side, I fold down my 1/2 inch, bring that across, but I actually pull that over so it goes up at an angle. That means that I cover the zip teeth, and then I work my way back down the second side of the zip. Now that I've got both sides in, I'm going to work out which is the top tooth, and the top tooth is on this side, so I'm going to just pull that open if I can. There we go. And I'm going to put my slide on that side, not too far down, and then pop this one in, and hopefully it will catch first time, but it doesn't always. Push down like that. Okay, I've actually overdone it. Yeah, I have. I've got 2 on that side, so I've got to start again. This sometimes goes in first time round or a number of times round, so I'm not going to worry too much. The light in here isn't that good today. Maybe this time I've got it. They're so fiddly because sometimes they just pop out. I'm just going to have to take my time. I think I've done it. So I've managed to get it in place, and now I'm going to fold my zip border in half, selvage to selvage, and I'm going to clip my halfway mark on both sides. There, I've got my borders marked. This is the main outside of the cushion, the top and the bottom, and I am going to cut back on this side 1/2 inch. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm going to cut back 1/2 inch on this side. I'll measure across, and I think it's about 1.5 inches off the other, because I just need it the finished size of 53, so I've got to cut it to 54, and I think this is actually 56 inches wide. But I'm doing that because the selvage is fine, but the pin marks where they hook it to dry it are a little bit further in, and I don't want those showing, so that's why I'm doing it this way, all the way along this side. I've just taken that off, but once I've done that, both sides look to be the same. So all I'm going to do on here is measure out my halfway mark like that, and then I'm going to put a little mark either side. I know then that this is the front border because I've got 2 areas that I need to cut into. They might not actually be there, they might be up or down, but at least I know. Here's my edge. I'm going to measure over to 30 inches, and I'm going to just cut a little mark here at my 30 inches, and then I know from that point it's 24 inches further over. This is really weird fabric, it's really stiff. It's a little bit annoying because it won't lay flat, but that's okay. Having got that in line, move across, cut my 24 inches, which is here. From there on, I'm going to just measure across. This is a bind, it's really not on anything. Okay, I think if I take this measurement, this line here on 1 1/4, it'll be a tad generous, but it will work. So I'm going to cut that length off all the way across. Again, on the side that I've just taken off, I'm going to fold it in half, mark my center, and a little ways up, put my mark that denotes where the front border is. I'm going to mark the center back on both sides, that side and then the other. Once you've got the selvages off, everything looks identical, and that's why you put different marks on different sides. Just like in dressmaking, you have extra clips in the back than you do on the side. There we go. I've cut my border in half. Just going to mark that as my halfway mark. And then right sides together on the side. And I know this is the side because it's got those clips in either side. Pop that into place. I am going to give that a 1/2 inch seam allowance, like that. Going to sew down one side. When I'm nearly at my mark, I'm going to cut in at a 45-degree angle, just over 1/4 inch there. Sew to that corner, or sew towards that corner. When you're just about there, pop the needle down, lift the foot up, and make sure that that pulls round to carry on its line, and it's perfect. So I'm going to pop the foot down, and I'm going to sew along here to more or less the end with my 1/2 inch seam allowance. These are really super easy cushions if you're not sure. Before you get to the end, maybe 3 inches, 7 or 8 centimeters, I'm going to stop and let the dog out. When you've done that, fold your side border in half like that, and then bring your side up and into position. Lay one on top of the other so you can work out where your corners are. The corners are there, and pin. I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to start sewing a good 3 to 4 inches from the top here down to the bottom with the 1/2 inch seam allowance still. This tells you whether you've cut everything straight. And you can see this is the bottom here that I started at. So let me come into that corner. I'll straighten it out as best I can. And when I say as best I can, because it's already started to go in. And where I think the corner is here, I'm just going to take that in at a bit of an angle, about 1/4 inch, like that. I'm going to sew towards that corner and stop when I'm nearly there. Lift the foot up, leave the needle down, pull all of this round, and it might not want to go because there's only a little space there. Twist it up. I actually think I need to come down one more stitch. That's a bind. I'm going to put one more stitch in and try again. Swing everything back into place like that. Pull the border out, put the foot down, and sew straight to where I had started and across those stitches, so they're all held into place. And that is the side border in. I can see what's going on. This wasn't quite cut into place properly, so that will ease it. There we go. It's not all the way in. You don't want to go all the way up to those stitches, just enough so that it opens up. Now when I turn it the right way around, that is what the side border looks like. It actually went in really well. Sometimes you might curve these slightly, but these are for square cushions, so I didn't need to. Then work on the second side. And again, on the second side, I'm going to fold my fabric over, run the edges together, find the top, which is here, and put the top corner to match it, and then pin. It's easier if you pin, it just holds everything together. Flip it to the other side, and again start a little way down from the top and sew into place. These are really for functional cushions rather than decorative, and they're going into a, I believe, like a camper van, which is being used for church purposes, so it's not going to be used very often. And it's also going to be used by a variety of people. They don't want to invest so much money in something that could get ruined by accident. Pull the bottom corner out as flat as you can, and then cut in just over 1/4 inch, but certainly not 1/2 inch, otherwise you'll be into your sew line. Sew it down, check it, looks like it'll all go in, and then pull everything around so it's nice and flat. When it's nice and flat, pop the foot down, sew to the middle and across. I always sew over my own stitches so it holds everything in place. Now I have a pile which consists of front and back with 2 sides attached and a zip border. Each one has the same thing in it, and now I'm going to put the zip border in. So having lined up the cushion and the back of the zipper together, carry on sewing all the way down to the end. And sew to about 3 inches, 7 centimeters from the side edge here. Just fold this along this edge. Just make sure that that corner of the cushion cover is square on, like that. And pull that out. It's usually easier if you just fold it back to the end of the zipper border like that and cut it back. By the time you folded this up an inch to go over the end here, you've made the adjustment. Flip this over, pull that back. I'm going to center my border, my zip border, between the side border. Fold it up about an inch. Sometimes when you do zipper borders, it's easy to take it in slightly more than you should. I don't worry about it, it all works its way out. And then sew across. Reverse over the teeth again and finish. Pop the top down with the zip border in it. I'm going to cut in here so I can make that turn. I'm going over the stitches that were already in there. When I get to the end, needle down, foot up and turn. There we go. And there you see it is low enough. Foot down and sew. And that takes into consideration the shortage on the side there. Over the stitches. See here it's come in but it's even. I'm going to make sure that this is the same height on there. Looks like it already. I'm going to pin that in place. I'm going to flip it. Here I'm going to straighten the border out like that and sew. Remove the pin. Now I usually pull from the other side just to make sure everything is flat in like that. I'm going to carry on sewing up towards the top and cut in like that. And you can see it comes in slightly, but I'm going to keep my eye on the outside edge here for now. I'm in place. I'm going to pick this up, turn it, pull everything round, and that will line up. Put the foot down and sew to the center where I started. So stretch it out, make sure they run evenly, and so. And it should all go in without any creases. So I'm going to just pull that tight to make sure that happens. And then when I get to where I started on the first side, I'm just going to sew over those stitches. That's how I do general purpose boxed cushions without piping. So here's the side of these without the piping in. I think they look quite neat. And there's the zip being put in perfectly. The front just has a rounded edge, nothing specific. If you've got non-directional fabric like this, this works perfectly. So I think they turned out quite well. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe, hit the bell button. A few thumbs up will be perfect. Otherwise, see you later. Take care. Ciao. My light's gone, so I'm just having to do this.